from webloaded.com.
One people, one world.
Welcome my amazing viewers. Thanks so much for joining this superb YouTube channel, Idris Activities. Today we will be talking about the free trade agreement as it concerns Nigeria, and I'll be doing that with a special guest from Jena. He's actually a doctorate researcher in synthetic biotechnology here in FSU Jena, and is equally a guest scientist at Leibniz Institute. He is a reputable public affairs analyst. Who I'm talking about is nobody but Mr. Anthony Chukwubuikem. Thanks so much for joining this occasion. Yeah, just like I said, we'll be talking about the African Free Trade Agreement that is currently going on in Nigeria and in some other African countries. And Mr. President Buhari hasn't really signed this contract of it. He hasn't signed this agreement, though he says he's not enthusiastic about it. So, but my main cause of concern is that Europe seems to be keen on us having this agreement. So I don't know, what do they tend to gain from this kind of agreement?
Okay, first we have to look at the nature of the economic partnership agreement. So basically, before now, Africa and a lot of countries in Africa have had Europe as their major trade partners, and it has continued. And I think the sub-Saharan Africa remains the base of most of the economic activities or most of the trade activities between Europe and Africa, and contributes to a greater percentage. So now what is all this agreement all about is just to synchronize what has already been on the ground. So Europe is trying to have an agreement not only with about 16 countries in Africa, but also with ECOWAS, so that there could be some tariff-free situation for some goods and services. So that's what Europe is quite well interested in. And if you also look at the way West Africa is structured, a lot of countries in West Africa belong to the Economic Community of West African States, which means that for a lot of goods and services between these countries are actually tariff-free. So I think the European Union wants to establish a ground in which these activities of tariff-free for goods and services could also be extended to Europe. That's the situation about it.
We saw Mr. Ketim Kassim, the EU ambassador to Nigeria as well as to ECOWAS, trying to explain the terms of this agreement to our president just recently. Do you think this is a kind of neocolonialist agenda? How do you see this kind of agreement?
Okay, for me, I think having read through the document, it's more of it's an agreement. An agreement is meant to be between two or more people. So one thing about agreement is that everyone comes with his own advantage side. So I wouldn't say it's any form of neocolonialism, but I think it's more of everyone wants to see what I can do to better my economy. And looking at it from the European aspect, I also see it as they also are looking for the welfare of Africa. Even though we can also point out that some of the things that are contained there are not totally in agreement with the way the economy runs in Nigeria, for instance. Like the president mentioned his concern about the European industries having more capacity in terms of technology. And so our own companies and the industry could not really compete with them if such agreement is openly allowed or is just allowed. And about the concern about the youthful population of Nigeria that needs to get employed. But if you look at the document, you also see that one of the aim of this process is to create more employment, to reduce unemployment. So when some of these goods more of these goods are transported from Africa or exported from Africa to Europe, and they are tariff-free, you create a situation where more people will go into agriculture and more people will go into production, so that some of these goods could actually get to Europe. And of course, there are also the other way, some goods from Europe will have to come here, and then they also have to be tax-free. And if you look at such goods, there are some goods that we need for our industries. We need for the growth of our industry. So I'm not seeing it as one person trying to take the advantage, but I'm seeing it as it's now left for us. It's an agreement. So it's now left for us to look at the ways it's going to favor us, and not to look at it and then rule out every possibility of having an advantage.
Okay, so what you are saying basically is that this portends something good for our economy, right? If I get you right.
Yes, I'm optimistic about it that we are going to benefit at the long run. Yeah, so because these are the facts that you cannot hide from in the long run. Because we have about 16 countries that are involved, and if we as a country, though we may be the giant of Africa, and we have the biggest economic base in West Africa, if we as a country refuse to sign it, what of if other countries sign it? And remember, those countries are also part of ECOWAS. So what it means is that they get the advantage of this bill, of this agreement. They also have some materials cheap, some of the major raw materials for production, and then they have a lot of industries grow up in these countries. And when they produce this, they can also have a free access to Nigeria, because at that point they are just transporting it or exporting it from their country to Nigeria, which are in the same economic zone. So at that point we have also missed the advantage, and then we are taking only the disadvantage. I think it's left for us to study it critically. The president and his economic team are experts, so they know the best. Probably they are playing with time at the moment, and I think they will come up with a final agreement that will be in the interest of the general public.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing your view on this. But I think some critics are seeing it like, okay, Europe will never do anything that will benefit Africa. And neglecting their people, something like that. They feel whenever they are going into deals, they'll definitely do something that help aid their economy. So what do you have to say about this? Do you think this is true?
Definitely, it's an agreement. So nobody comes into agreement in a way that it will not favor him. So everybody goes in agreement to have an advantage. So that's why you have also to go through the document and then see whether you have an advantage. For Europe, I don't totally agree that Europe wouldn't want anything to benefit Africa. Europe have contributed a lot to the development of West Africa. And if you look at the trend of migration, a lot of people are migrating from West Africa and they end up in Europe. So you look at it, you see that the pressure is also in Europe. So it's the high time they also thought of doing something good for Africa, because the more Africa is kept behind in developmental processes, the more the pressure comes to them. Because a lot of these people will end up in Italy, in Germany, and in other European countries, and this will mount pressure in their own economy. So I think no European Union with the level of civilization wouldn't want to do something that will leave Africa behind. They would want to do something that will also make Africa a stable economy, and an economy that will give the youth the chances of getting employed.
Okay, thanks so much, Mr. Anthony. And digressing a bit from that, what do you have to say about made in Nigerian products that carry Italy emblem or logo like that? Like, these are actually manufactured in Aba, for example, but what you see written on them is, okay, made in Italy or made in Vietnam or somewhere, or China or somewhere like that. What do you have to say about this?
Okay, I have to say it's more of a branding problem, and it's two-way, because first we have that there is an original problem in that these goods originally, some of them come as inferior goods. So people know when I buy these goods that is made in this particular place, and if it's a shoe, I don't have to wear it for the number of time. I can wear the similar thing that I buy from maybe Italy or in China or so. So it has created a sort of impression in the minds of the people. And these are the consumers that want to pay for something that they will get the full value. So, but now for such goods to be branded made in Italy or made in China means that there is a shift. Those producers are seeing the need that people must get the value for what they pay for. So I think if these goods could be branded made in Italy and they still have a market in Nigeria and people will appreciate them, it's high time we begin to write made in Nigeria, so that our own people will also begin to appreciate, yes, I am using a made in Nigerian good. I think goods, and I think that is the general opinion that we should encourage our own local industries.
Okay, thanks so much, Mr. Anthony, for this opinion of yours, how do you think we can grow local businesses? I mean, is it by trying to avoid this kind of agreement, just like we are doing right now? How do we move forward our industry?
Okay, to me, I think the best way we can move our industries forward is by looking into such agreements, because there are things that if you don't approve today, some other person will approve it tomorrow. So when we look at this agreement, we now ask ourselves, where are we now, and where do we expect to be in the next 10 years? Like in this economic partnership agreement, you see that it spans the period of 20 years to remove most of the tariff in some goods, starting from the first year it starts. So you can see that it's a program that lasts for a very long time, and these tariffs are going to be removed for a very let's say within a period of time. So it's now a challenge to us as a people that we have to put ourselves at an advantage. We have to encourage the local industries. We do that by giving loans to small and medium enterprises. We do that by encouraging the locally produced goods from everybody. We start from the government because they are the representative of the people. So the government should also make use of these locally made goods, and by that you spend our money in our economy, so we don't have much of this capital flight. We patronize our services. We encourage more people to more experts that we have outside and those we have inside to come in and work together to develop our country. In such a way, we develop our local industry so that in future, when a similar agreement comes, we will know we have industries, right? We know we are at an advantage. So that's
Thanks so much, Mr. Anthony. And lastly, before I let you go, what do you have to say to Nigerians? I mean, the increasing number of Nigerian graduates without jobs. What do you have to say to these people? Any message for them?
Okay. What I have to say is, we the youths, and we have to be focused. We have to believe in ourselves. We don't allow the situations around us or the news of the unemployment or the reality of the unemployment to keep us down. There is something I believe everyone is endowed with. So it's something that in this difficult period is a time for you to express that. It's a time for you to show what you are made of. Just think of whatever you can do. Don't waste your time in maybe wasting your time in something that is not relevant. Believe in yourself. Go for whatever you want, and you get it.
Thanks so much, man.